We're in Rosen, section 13.2 on finite state machines with output. And here we discuss a function of a finite state machine with output called recognition. It has a formal definition and it could be modified for other situations, but we're going to say that um, if we have a language, which is a subset of the all possible strings under my input function, we say that M recognizes the language if an input string if an input string X belongs to L, if and only if the last output produced by our machine is a 1. So if we read a word, if we receive an input and the output of our machine is not a 1, it did not recognize that word. And if the output is a 1, having received the input, then we say that the machine did recognize that word. So how can we construct a machine that recognizes a type of language? Well, first we got to describe a language we want to recognize. Here's an example. I want to create a finite state machine that recognizes the set of words over my input alphabet such that the last 3 bits are ones. If the last 3 bits of an input are ones, I want to recognize that. If that's not the case, I want to not recognize that. So how can I do that? Well, let's just look at a construction of one. This is a machine. My starting state is an S0. And if I get zeros in, I'm certainly not going to recognize a whole bunch of zeros. But if a 1 comes in, I'm on my way to perhaps having 3 ones being the last portion of my input. But I'm still going to output a 0 because I'm not there yet, but I've gone to state 1, which remembers that the last input received was a 1. If in state 1 another 1 comes in, then I still won't output a 1, but now I'm in position of state 2, which means I've had 2 ones come in as the most recent inputs. Now, if a 1 comes in from state 2, that means that 3 ones in a row have been received, and I'll say that I recognize it. However, if at any time along this train to getting to state 2 a 0 comes in, I go all the way back to state 0 and output a 0. Even if I'm in state 2, but a 0 comes in, I output a 0 and I go back to state 0 because I'm starting all over again. So again, our machine is said to recognize a word if it outputs a 1 at the end of that word. And that is using finite state machines with output to do recognition.